think you can sympathize and you can empathize, but until you've lived it and walked it, you really, truly cannot understand it.
My name is Maureen Vasnicki, and I identify myself now as a Canadian victim of terrorism.
My name is Carol DeDelli, and I'm the mother of Tim McLean, who is the 22-year-old young man that was murdered on the Greyhound bus in 2008.
Often I identify myself as a Canadian 9/11 widow, because one of the first questions I'm asked was, oh, did you live in the United States at the time, in New York? And I say, no. I lived with my late husband, Ken, in Toronto with our two kids, who were 16 and 21 at the time. And Ken just happened to be on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center on September the 11th, 2001.
The offender was subsequently found to be not criminally responsible. So if he's not a criminal and no crime was committed, how could I possibly be a victim of crime? So what is the criteria? Does it have to have a conviction? Does it have to have, I don't know.
Canadians, I think, are not aware that presently under the definition of who is a victim, it does not include Canadians who've been victimized abroad. In my case, the United States. Most recently, we had the attacks in Kenya, where Canadians have been greatly affected, lives lost, and other Canadians injured. And when they come back to Canada, they may find that because of the definition of who is a victim, they may find that resources are just not there for them. It shouldn't matter. They're no less Canadian for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There was so much wrong with this from the very beginning. I think that systemic failure at all levels resulted in what happened to my son. To go into the justice system and have them tell me that it's now an NCR matter. When it becomes an NCR matter, it's out of the justice system. It is put into the healthcare system. Now everybody in the mental health profession is there to protect him and speak for him and provide for him. Who's doing that for me and my family? Nobody. Are my needs and our therapy and counseling and medications, I wish I had just the money that I've paid for parking back. Nobody's looking out for all of our needs, but anything that he requires, he's going to receive. Now he's allowed to go into Winnipeg and into some surrounding townships. I could potentially go down to my beach and run smack into him at any given time. I think that's wrong.
There's a tremendous imbalance here. We suffer greatly for the rest of our lives. My son was 16, my daughter was 21 when their father was murdered. There's not a day that goes by that doesn't trigger for me what happened to my family and to my beloved husband on September the 11th, 2001. We need to look at how we can lessen the impact for our Canadian victims. And I plead for our government to put a plan and policy in place to give the tools to victims of terrorism to be reintegrated in society, which will include, first and foremost, medical help, whether it's limbs lost, injuries, and which includes psychological help.
I want to be able to offer these people some hope that there is so much room for improvement, and it's desperately needed.
There's a great need to have a policy and plan in place. It's not a case where victims of terror fall through the cracks. There really isn't an adequate plan that's in place right now. And so I encourage our government, and especially at the federal level, to do everything possible to put an adequate plan and policy in place so that Canadians will know that their country is behind them.